Dane, Z, and Dane here. Final morning on a Friday. The sun is shining. The weather is not sweet. It's kind of fresh. I'm not gonna lie. I
It's
went
looking
out.
nice. Is it?
It
Is
is.
it
It's
brisk?
nice, but it's like a fresh breeze. It's not. It's not
That's
one of
good.
those like warm days that you're gonna feel sticky. Well, you may do. I don't know because this country's weird. It doesn't. It's not the hottest at midday. It's the hottest at like 4. So
Yeah, it's like when
the
you think
temperature just keeps rising after midday.
when the sun should be calming down, it's like
Yeah, yeah.
nah.
It's like, you know what? Let's go.
Do
Let's
the
get
whole
ramped up.
thing.
Son's a teenager. That's why.
All right.
Oh, what did you do something just then?
Yeah, I just did it's a chat overlay so
Yeah,
people can
that's
comment to the
cool.
stream in
Is
it.
there if
So
there's a comment? Because I never see the comments. So
yeah, I always see different comments and stuff as well. So we're just trying to get this together properly. But
yeah, we'll see how
thank you,
it goes. We'll
thank
see
you
how
for
it goes.
everybody joining us for breakfast banter with Dane and Z. And yeah, I know some of you are on your way to work right now. Hopefully, we're able to keep you company. You are
Why are you
witnessing
working
the
on a Friday? That's on you, to be
yeah.
fair.
Like, what's going on with that? Like, why are you working on a Friday? If you are working on a Friday, then this is the time to go in and go pull up to the boss's office and say, what's going on here, brother? My dick could have left. You don't
Oh,
remember
you
there's a
say that.
pandemic?
Angela Rayner apparently is going to come out with something like that in the autumn statement, saying that we've got a right to 4-day work, 4-day weeks.
It's the least she could do.
To
It's
be
the
fair,
least that
I
anybody could
barely
do. I think we are quite overdue for introducing a 4-day week and maybe at least a 3-day week, and one of those weeks working from home.
I mean, I do work from home, so I can't even say anything. But I also home from work, so I should get compensation
Yeah,
because
mix it
I
up.
I work where I live, and that's not fair.
Listen,
I should be able to claim some like tax rebate for
if
business
you're the
rates.
one covering the overheads when your
You see,
domicile
you
becomes the
see,
office, then you should be entitled to take some of that time off or
yeah.
to get some kind of subsidy in
Like
the
I
form
shouldn't
of
even pay
corporation
income tax
tax.
in this way. I should be paying the lower corporation tax rate
That's what I'm
because
saying. You should be.
why not
That's
a
what I'm saying
corporate?
because you are providing an you're someone's taken first Friday off since May. Listen, big up yourself.
Keep taking
That took
them. Keep taking
keep
them.
taking them. That took way too long anyway. But yeah, you deserve that. Like, but I'm saying we should definitely. One of the reasons I think we should at least take some time off is because it allows for society to just the environment breathe, let the environment recover, and I think it's and touch grass. That should be written
Listen,
into people's contracts that human beings should have a connection with nature
let me
because
tell you.
yeah.
Let me tell you something. So I wasn't working on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. Not because
Mm.
I had to recover from anything. Like people are like, oh, do you have to? No, no. I had to recover from the weekend of also being off work, and and it was hard, but I managed it. Thank you. But I was off for Tuesday and Wednesday this week, and the way I was living, I was like, you know what? I could be a trophy wife. Now let me just put this in place. I was thinking about this, and I was like, this work shit is a scam because I feel fucking great right now. And I was looking at all the proletariat off, scurrying off to work, and I was like, oh, you little povos. I'm one of them, but not today.
You changed it. The thing is, you were able to slot into your new status
Yeah.
immediately and
Do you
look down
see
upon
that?
the proletariat
So
so quickly that
adaptable.
you've had the terminology down already. Like all you
Yeah,
need now is like some poached eggs covered in poppy seeds and a couple chili flakes,
thank you.
and you're
See?
good to go.
You get me, Dane. That's the thing. You get
Yeah.
me. And I was just looking around. I thought I really could get used to this life. And no, obviously, people are like, well, a trophy wife needs to look pretty like a trophy. I could, if I had more time, I could do that. Okay, I could go to the gym. Like, but
Precisely.
if I wasn't working,
There's no such thing as ugly. It's just poor. So
this is what I'm saying.
when you're a trophy wife, you've got time to do the facial. You've got time to do the exfoliation. You've got time to put the thing them under your eyes, and you've got time
If
to
I'm
put on
in
the Lulu.
back-to-back meetings, I can't be working on my physique.
Exactly. Plus, not only that, you can walk around with the gym chic. You've got the Lululemon, which is like the Wonder Bra for butt cheeks for white
Mhm,
women mainly.
mhm, mhm,
It's
mhm.
true. I'm not having this argument with nobody. And then you got the look down. And if things are going really well, and the way things are going economically, at some
Mhm.
point you employ a Trinidadian au pair to take care of your children. Now the day's yours.
Perfect. I mean, I don't even need that because I don't have children that need taken care of. But yes, I would employ one to take care of me. Like, because there are things also just in life I don't want to do. Okay.
Exactly.
And so yeah, I could just have them coming and just little things. Do you know what I mean? Like maybe they could wash my hands for me. Like I don't mind washing my hands, but think how nice that would be if someone washed your hands for you. Just think about that. They were just like, come over here, and then they just like washed it, lathered it up for you, rinsed your hands, and then gently didn't even rub your hands in the towel, but just gently dab them.
Just
Do you
dab
know what I
them.
mean?
Yeah,
Like,
no, not rubbing, no friction. Just
no,
dab
no,
them.
no,
Just
no, just
get that
dabbing it.
get the
Look
cute
how
the nail bed
think how
popping.
young my hands would look if that's how they were taken care of. This
This
is
is
the
it.
thing.
There'll also be some in the middle of the day business for the manicurist and nail bar industry, which is one of the only industries on the high street that is still alive. And now that you've got like trophy wives and yummy mummies getting nail art done, which is a whole new thing. Because remember when getting your nails done was supposed to be ghetto and only black women did it, but now it's become part of popular culture now. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Now they're
things will
claiming
be
it.
popping. Things will be
Exactly.
popping. I think it's a very important. I think it's massively important that people take time off from work. I think that we should have, as supposedly an evolved society, we should have moved away from the idea of the 9 to 5 and the 5 day work week and the 40 hours a week, because what we are noticing now is that it's beginning to take a existential toll on human beings. It's not going well. We are not just meant to just work and reproduce and consume and die. And clearly, this is having an effect on people, Z, because we have seen
Trigger warning.
recently, yeah,
Yeah.
recently that suicide rates in England and Wales have reached their highest level since 1999. The Samaritans have called on the government to invest in suicide prevention as they've done with smoking reduction, because we have seen some worse figures since these records began. But basically, official figures described by suicide prevention charity Samaritans have said that there's been 6,069 suicides have been registered in England and Wales in 2023, which is up from 5,642 in 2022, the highest rate since the turn of the century. And 3/4 of these deaths have been men. But women's suicides, which are normally significantly lower than men, have also reached their highest levels since 1994. So yeah, it's a madness,
And
and this is
that's
particularly
the
amongst
that's a figure. Sorry to cut you. I was just going
yeah,
to say about that. But men always tend to have they kind of make up the majority of the suicide
yeah,
rate,
yeah.
don't they?
Men definitely tend to do have higher rates, and it's something that unfortunately what we say is that intra-sexually it's not really discussed that much. Men don't really talk about what ails them, and this is why we've seen in maybe the last couple of years a big drive for men to acknowledge whatever neuroses they may be experiencing or any depression they're experiencing, because it does tend to have some literally lethal consequences.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, a lot of men are suffering out there. I mean, we're not the one to discuss this by describing men and women as distinct groups, because obviously it's humanity, it affects humanity. But do you know what? I mean, I've got theories that I'd like to posit. I mean, I think obviously suicide rates are much lower among women, because obviously women are normally well, for a start, typically, and this might be a generalization, but obviously women having a high level of emotional intelligence are normally very forthright about whatever psychological issues or mental health issues they might be struggling with, and as a result of which they're able to kind of, I guess, communally commiserate or
Mm.
help and heal one another, whereas men have been inculcated with the idea that they are supposed to deal with their issues of mental health by themselves and tend to isolate when they are experiencing acute depression. Speaking as a member of the Black community, it's only something that we very recently have been having explicit conversations about mental health, and a lot of the time we do not know the avenues by which to seek any psychiatric help. I myself have seen a therapist a couple of times. No, I see a therapist on a regular basis. And I know from my therapist that I definitely form a minority of cisgender heterosexual men who seek psychiatric help on a regular basis. And I'm more than aware that there are some people who will be listening to this right now being like, well, I always knew he was crazy. Look at all the drag behind him. But
I mean,
that's
we're all
not the
crazy,
case.
to be
I
fair.
mean, we're all crazy. And to be honest with you, I I'm not surprised by these statistics. I think if
Mm.
anyone has been paying attention to at least just the last half decade on the planet, then I'm not surprised people are depressed. As I said before, the increase in suicide rates has largely around the demographic of 45 to 65-year-olds,
Yeah.
and it's not surprising that the people who would be normally considering how they're going to be beginning to wind down their working life and their economic mobility are starting to realize that austerity measures and the economic state of the West, at least, means that people will be retiring a much later date if they can
Yeah.
retire at all. People are always experiencing a massive lack of housing. People are probably looking at the resurgence of a lot of regressive ideology, whether it's fascism, hatred towards people if you are of an immigrant extraction. And we just and some of the shit that we've seen, quite frankly, for that generation, has been downright biblical. Like you've had,
Yeah.
like in the last 4 years, you've seen plague, you've seen pestilence, because don't forget the murder hornets. You know, seen
Oh, but
the
America
thousand
has those
deaths
all
as
the
well.
time.
Yeah,
They always
that as
every
well.
summer they have what's it, African killer bees that they scare
There you go.
the
Yeah,
population with.
but
But
it's been
what
crazy. Hurricanes, typhoons, floods, lack of work. I think that people still try to downplay the after effects of the pandemic and the isolation that would have created for people as well.
yeah,
And so, yeah, I don't know what the
I
fuck
mean,
Pharrell Williams are talking about when he said that I'm happy. Because if you're just happy right now, you ain't been paying fucking attention. So,
well, what I will say, what I find kind of sadly interesting about this, because they've been talking about this increase in the numbers, specifically in this country, and obviously there's been an increase across the board, across the genders. But I think of the people that um, uh, die by suicide, the large majority of them are men, and it's not like 55, it's like 75 or something like that percent of them are men. But what I think as well is it would be remiss to ignore the kind of cultural shifts that we've seen over the last like 10 to 15 years in terms of, do you remember back, I think it was like in the 90s, we had this like rise of the metrosexual, and there were like men coming into their own, and it was very much, and I'm not going to say feminized because of that, and
no, but
I don't
getting in
mean
touch
that
with your feminine side was
derogatory.
a big part of like popular psychology. Of
but
people
but
like, you
there
need to
was
get in
but
touch
there
with your
was
feminine side.
yeah, but there was also, and whilst, but that was kind of embraced in a way. Like there
Mm,
was obviously a backlash from older generations, but that was kind of embraced. But what we're seeing, especially with this rise in populism, comes this rise in like misogyny and everything, and misogyny oppresses men too. You know what I mean? It's not
massively.
something that just it binds you to, like that
Mm,
patriarchy binds you and oppresses you within the system as much as it does the victims of that system. And
mm.
so if you have
It's
this
like
kind
white
of,
supremacy. It directly blocks empathy
oh,
because
well,
if you are
100%. But
considered as
there's also this
yeah,
prevailing rhetoric that you feel, not you personally, but like men
mm,
may feel the need to keep up with, right?
yeah,
So, well, this is, I'm a man, and so I do X, Y, and Z. And like even all of these little things that I think people think are jokes, like when we have these television shows where we're talking about like, oh, I'm not going to date somebody that doesn't earn six figures. Bear in mind, like, this is a 17-year-old girl. Like no one gives context, like 17-year-old girl, but honey, worry about your A levels. Don't worry about men or anything
I
like
was
that.
definitely going to marry Halle Berry and maybe Mariah Carey when I was 17.
But do you understand?
Yeah,
Exactly. But my
of
point
course.
being is then this is the predominant attitude that's like, well, this is what women want from you. And if you're sitting there under this cost of living crisis, under this circumstance where we're still dealing with the fallout from the 2008 financial crash, and you're thinking about, I would like companionship, but this is the standard, which is not true. It isn't true.
Mm-mm,
But this is the standard, and all of these things, all of these little things contribute, because it also isn't always the big things. We have lived through, these big, climate disasters and, plagues and whatever else like that. But actually, it's the death by 1,000 paper cuts that really do it, isn't it? It's the like
mm-hmm.
the little things that just grind you down every single day that just think, well, what's the point? Because I'm never going to live up to this ideal of like manhood. And that's the thing, you're never meant to. It's set up so it's always supposed to be aspirational, it's always moving. Like once you think that you know what it is to be a man, and whatever, then it's moving. It's like, why you can't eat a banana in a
I
certain
observed
way.
in the last 3 years, yeah, that first it's okay for men to cry, encouraging men to embrace
Yeah.
a higher level of emotional intelligence, and then it was like, where's your beard, stupid? Get a beard and get some
But
oil in
there's
that beard.
always something, right?
Yeah,
So then, and it's also like so geographically variable. So then you'll got what, like I remember this just as a sidebar. I remember seeing a discussion on Twitter about black men cooking. Now I'm West Indian, so all the black men I know can cook. Like it's not even a gendered thing. Like I don't know any West Indian man that can't cook, and maybe there is one, but it's very much frowned upon. Like why can't
yeah.
you
It's
cook?
not something you say out loud and profess that you can't do anything in the
Like why
kitchen
would you
because
even say that?
yeah,
Like it just doesn't
yeah,
even, but then obviously that's a genderized thing, because then there's been this wave of, maybe I don't know if it's like West African culture, that there's more cooking is a more gendered thing. So then
mm,
they're going, well, men can't cook. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know any West Indian men that can't cook. Like I don't know that to be a thing. And so I have two brothers, they can both cook. Like it's not something that I
mm.
grew up thinking about whether men can cook. Of course they can cook. Why can't they cook? It's a life skill, a basic life skill, life skill for survival. So that's what I
Exactly.
mean. It's like if they're defining it in a specific area as that this is something that a man doesn't do, but I go somewhere else and it's taken for granted that they obviously, then you're never going to fit everybody's mold. You're never going to make it. And if you're always trying, because that's what we're all supposed to aspire to, this kind of pinnacle of whatever, masculinity or femininity or whatever, of course it's going to contribute to the real life problems that you have.
Yep.
So I don't think it's by accident that those things are happening. And I think even just this promotion, and it is specifically by the right, of this kind of war on wokeness or culture wars. I think that is something that's really, really detrimental, even to those people on the right that believe themselves to be this kind of pinnacle of manhood, because it binds you as well.
Yeah, but but however, I feel like the people that are leading this regressive ideology know, and I think that we've said it in a way, but kind of more succinctly, that capitalism takes a large amount of responsibility
Hmm.
for this kind of these feelings of inadequacy that people are experiencing and leading to this increase in suicides. And I think that's particularly for people who are, in their mid 40s towards their 60s, because that is a generation which kind of like straddles both like a silent and boomer generation, but
Hmm.
also is a generation that is like kind of includes
Disenfranchised.
Generation X, but is
Yeah.
largely being disenfranchised. And I think that they are large. I think that some of the more successive generations, like Generation Z and the rest of it, they're much more aware of political corruption. They're much more aware of economic manipulation and corruption, and so they are more skeptical. But that level of awareness, which is referred to by this these the right wing as woke, is kind of what keeps them a bit more having a bit more vitality than this same
Yeah.
generation who are opposed to wokeness, but refuse to awaken their consciousness to the architects of their depression. Because yeah, this idea that your self-worth or your human worth is attached to a price is obviously something that people are struggling with, but it's something we don't want to have a conversation about. And I definitely agree with you that this is not something that men have to blame, but obviously there are historic criterion that has defined manhood, like your occupation and I suppose your ownership, which capitalism has made impossible to use as that. So before, you as a man, you worked a job and you'd have a home, but automation and capitalism has dictated that like some of these jobs which used to define manhood, like making stuff with your hands, they no longer exist, or they've been massively outsourced, particularly
Hmm.
in the West. um, and yeah, the idea that you're maybe not able to provide for a family is probably massively depressing as well. But I just think it's also, we are exposed to so many other different things in terms of information, and also what we consume, like nutritionally as well, which could definitely have an effect on people. And it's just, and as you said yourself, the right doesn't want to acknowledge that we have a climatological or any environmental crisis. But at the same time, we're not monitoring what's being put into our water right now, what's being put into our air. And to suppose that none of these things have an effect on the human psyche, or has not had an effect, or even just our access to information, which desensitizes us to violence and to humanitarian crises around the world. To think that this is not going to have an effect on human beings psychologically, yeah, it's insane. I feel like social media in particular has almost given us kind of like some kind of powers of kind of godhood, and
Mm.
in terms of that, we are now omniscient, we're omnipotent, we have much more power than we've ever had in terms of information. We get to see much stuff in the world than we could ever see before, and I'm not sure that everybody's processing it that well. Because when you look at in particular, like straight white men, straight white men are seeing how people speak about them outside of that echelon of being of white supremacy and being seen as like a superior form of life. But they've seen how we really speak about them, and now that they're in on the private joke, I think that's a lot for them to take on, and they're not
It is.
handling it
That's
very
right.
well.
They're the real victims now. Like, I love
Well,
whenever I hear
it's
that,
just
I just think it's so funny. It's like, do when they have these questions, do you agree that white men are the real victims of racism?
yeah, and that's the question. But then everyone's like, "No, you lot are pussy girls like everyone else," but they never heard that before out
Yeah.
loud. And for the rest of us, like I said, I mean, the pandemic is a perfect example of people experiencing what an equal society is and having to build a level playing field where their race or their social economic group did not predispose them to having a superior standing of living for the rest of us, and they couldn't handle it.
You
Like,
know, you know
so
what's what's really funny is that I hear people talking about, oh, now I'm really concerned because they're trying to say there's like this affirmative action, not even just for black people, but I've got a white boy, and like as a boy child, and they're going to be disenfranchised now because apparently they're going to be put to the back of the queue when they're going to get to university. And I'm like, they've been at the fucking front of the queue for however long, babes. They can stand in the middle for a while. Like, and it's so funny how this fear of being put to the back of the queue. And I'm like, but hold on, we wanted equality because there have been people at the back of the queue that didn't deserve to be there for a while. So go join them. Go make friends. I don't really
also,
care.
Why didn't you think about it when you lot was going to university for free and democratizing access to higher education? It didn't occur to you then, so you could have put in the work in and you didn't. So shut the fuck up. But we should also, I think we should definitely. This is definitely something that affects the Black community in particular, because any community perspective I can speak from. But I think that we are even held to an even higher standard to the level of hypermasculinity, where you're not even able to show any form of emotion, and also because a lot of institutions such as healthcare as well as law enforcement do not exist to protect you or to reprimand people that might affect your sensibilities. You could feel a lot more isolated because you are under the impression that if I do report any issues with my mental health, I will not receive adequate care, and I could be putting myself in much more precarious situations. Because I think only the police are able to detain people under the Mental Health Act. And so we know how they treat Black people in custody, especially if they are experiencing psychosis. And what is not often reported with news stories of Black people dying as a result of police brutality is the previous mental health conditions they may have been dealing with, and the lack of competence that the police showed in helping those people with mental health. Like, coming from a community which has used Judeo-Christian ideology to address a lot of our psychological issues has been, and I'll say it, massively damaging when people say that they're not all right, because, experiencing structural, institutional, and interpersonal racism would make you depressed as fuck if you can't work out why people hate you just because of how you look. And if you're said, just pray that away, it's not massively helpful. And it's definitely something that we need to address as a community post haste, to be quite honest, because I mean these rates are very worrying. They don't surprise me though, but it is okay to not be okay. And to be quite honest, if you are someone that's experiencing a lot of depression and sadness right now, don't feel like you're weird. Things are fucked up right now, but we just need to discuss that as a whole. So moving on. Yeah, speaking of madnesses, not to read this down further, but for some reason, this new Labour government has taken up the weird previous initiative of the Conservative government, who were attempting to ban electronic cigarettes and vapes, and are suggesting that they might put through legislation to ban outdoor smoking. Nah, you love a little puff of a fag, didn't you, son? See?
I'm smoking a fag. Do you remember this?
Yeah, of course.
I am smoking a fag. I just want to say, if you're in the US, it doesn't mean the same thing.
Doesn't mean the same thing.
So that's what we're talking about. No, I don't smoke.
No, not at all.
No.
Cigars?
Can you not see my skin? Are you crazy?
Don't smoke cigars. Don't smoke cigarettes.
No.
Pipe?
I can't afford it. I can't afford that kind of habit. Yeah. No. And also, you know what? I'm just not consistent. I can't have that kind of long-term relationship. I just feel like it's too much commitment for me. Like, what do you mean? Like, every day I have to smoke. Like, there's nothing in my life apart from like personal hygiene that I've managed to be consistent with for so long. And I just don't think I could do that. I don't think I could commit to it. No, so I don't smoke. And I just have no real concept of this. I do remember when you could smoke everywhere, okay, or almost everywhere. Yeah.
You smoke in shopping centres.
Listen, I used to smoke on fucking planes, babe. There's like smoking sections on planes. It's like having a pissing section in a swimming pool. Like, what the fuck does that mean? We'll just close the curtain. It'll be all right.
Yeah. It's a big curtain.
Like, it was just so crazy. And so I remember when the smoking ban came in, and I remember how nice it was to go to a club and not come back smelling like smoke. I mean, now you just smell of BO, but like, and everyone else is. But it was so nice because it was in your hair, and it was just and it was disgusting. So I do remember the before and after, and I think it was the right decision because it was fucking awful. Like,
no, it definitely was. Even as somebody who has dabbled with various tobacco products. I hope my mother's not on the stream like she normally is. But if she was, I'm holding it for a friend. A bigger boy gave it to me to hold for a second. That's the reason why.
You got secondhand smoke.
Yeah, on Vinted. But it's in my dreads. It was in my dreads. Yeah, but I feel like it's definitely a good decision because I think even people that enjoy a puff every now and again, doing that in a very enclosed space probably has definitely has long term health
Yeah.
implications for them as well, and even for people who don't smoke, it had health implications which without giving them the consent. So I think that's definitely a good idea. But so far as outdoor smoking, while I'm not trying to be a champion for the tobacco industry, because it's not like say they give me money, even though at this point, boy, but I just
Well, embarrassed, you say.
yeah, I just feel like there's probably a way. There's other priorities that we are probably should be dealing with as a nation before
Yeah,
we
I
start
mean,
trying to
I'm
repeal
not sure
smoking.
why he would be doing this. Did you? Because I like, what's the
Well,
and like, I'm
the
not.
idea is
I
that
mean, as a
he
non-smoker, I don't really give a shit. I'm gonna be
yeah.
honest, but like, I'm not sure why is he. Is there like some sort of study that says we're all dying because people are smoking outside of? Like,
Well,
what's happening?
I mean, obviously smoking is very dangerous and it can kill, and it does say so
Hmm.
on the packet stem. But it's saying that 80,000 people lose their lives every year because of smoking, which is a preventable death that has a huge burden on the NHS. So he's trying to say that he's trying to relieve the burden on the NHS, although what would probably be more effective is not privatizing the NHS. But that's another conversation for another time. But Keir
So
Starmer obviously
just
trying to
about
protect the health
smoking
of
then, because
people.
you've traveled a bit, and I wanted to ask you this. So I don't, because when you don't do something, you just don't really know about the kind of paraphernalia that come with it and whatever. So
Hmm.
when I was traveling, and this was kind of after the smoking ban, airside in Europe, they would
Hmm.
have these smoking rooms that are like a tube that you all go
Yes.
in and you're all that, and then the smoke goes. Do they still have that? Is that still a thing?
I've not seen one lately, but yeah, I know there's a
You
lot
know
of
what I'm
places,
talking about,
particularly
though?
in
It's like an
continental Europe.
elevator
It's called
shaft or something, and you just sit in
fumidor.
it.
Yeah, so you have a fumidor. There's a very few of them around the UK. Like some of the cigar, like if you go to have like a cigar somewhere, like
Yeah.
in central London, they might have a fumidor. But basically, it's an extractor fan that can take up all of the smoke and kind of make that. I mean, it
Right,
doesn't
but it
work
was like a
perfectly.
box. It was like a
Yeah,
box where you were like, "Oh, you're the smoker," because you could see them all in there,
yeah,
and they just all smoked in there, going like this. I
yeah,
thought that was
man.
really funny, and very cancerous. It just felt cancer. Like I mean, like, it just was
It's
like
like
this.
being. It's like I feel like it's been inside of like a lung in
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It
it.
felt like a controlled experiment. They were like, "If you want lung cancer, come here," because you're not just going to get your smoke; you're getting everybody's. It was like
Yeah,
you're definitely. So that was
exactly.
really interesting, and I also remember being in France after the smoking ban, and I remember people still in the airport just smoking under the no smoking signs because they were just like, "Oh no, it's
That's
France
the
here."
if the French in it. Oh, the time, any time to demonstrate and to say
Yeah, yeah,
if the
yeah,
establishment that they're on this thing. But I think, I mean, trying to reduce deaths by smoking does sound like it's a good initiative, but I'm very dubious about it because I feel like, first of all, I was told by a physician, not myself personally, but most human beings, just by if you live in London or spend time in London, you're on a 10-a-day habit just because of the pollution.
Oh, shout out to
And
me. So I have
there you
been
go. So you've been
consistent.
doing it for time. That's what I'm saying to you. You're on this thing. But I just think that um, there could be improvements made to public transport. There could probably be a lot more work done environmentally, like planting more trees and stuff that could also help address issues of pollution as well and
Oh,
improve the respiratory health of the UK, not just by outdoor smoking. I mean, it could be a good initiative, but I think that it's one of these things that seems very knee jerk in the same way that like they started putting all these boxes with flowers and blocking all these roads, saying that they're trying to do ULEZ and reduce pollution. But all it does is increase traffic jams and just had more static cars to cause, more pollution, which
yeah,
doesn't really make any sense at all. When what you could, especially when they were like, you'd think that you'd invest more in your infrastructure and public transport if you wanted people to use their cars a lot less. So I'm hoping if you're going to be introducing this outdoor ban that you're going to provide some alternatives to people because, unfortunately,
so you
like,
can't smoke indoors. You can't smoke outdoors. Where the fuck can you smoke?
well, the idea is that they're trying to phase it out by like, the 2040s that they're going to make outlaw smoking completely now.
Really?
I'm not sure.
I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know how. I
exactly.
don't smoke, but I don't know how. I always wanted to. I'm not gonna lie. Like I know. I know it sounds like a weird, but I just always felt like I'd look really good with like a drink and a cigarette. But I don't really drink that much, and like I barely drink, and I don't smoke. So I just again, it's one of those things. It's aspirational. I'm never meant to get there. I feel like I was going on that. I felt like I'd look really like with one of those thin cigarettes, the thin ones. I don't know if
Mm.
those are like a regular thing. I don't even know what they're called, but the really thin ones.
Oh, they're called Vogue.
This is what I wanted.
Yeah,
Yeah, just
yeah.
like be there and be like, And I feel like shooing someone with a cigarette in your hand is very disrespectful, and I feel like I could embody that. I feel that's my vibe.
I feel like that's
But
something that Keir Starmer's experienced many, many times. And he was like, "Hello, it's my first day at law school."
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And he, to be fair, he speaks like that, doesn't he? Like, yeah, hello. Like, it's
Yeah,
got a
and
little
people,
bit weird,
yeah, a few times people have been like, you should have a cigarette, bro, because your voice is all over the place."
literally.
And he's
And
like, "That
I
should
do remember the
remain."
adverts for smoking as well, because Happiness was a cigar called Hamlet. So that
According to
was
Russ Abbott, what a legend. This is what I'm saying to you. And
like, we're missing out. We're losing recipes here. Also, lives. We lost quite a lot of lives, but you know what?
yeah.
We also lost recipes. Like, that was sad. They've used advertising just used to be much more creative. I remember going to Spain and it was in Spanish, but there was one with a camel and it had kisses all over it, like lipstick. And it said, "There's nothing more sexy than lipstick on a camel," because it was for Camel cigarettes. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God. See, I think this is why I have in my head that I wanted to be a smoker, because I was like, I want to be sexy and put lipstick on it.
Yeah, and also cigarettes normally are in films when they would have finished having saxophone sex. Yeah, you know the sex where people keep their bras on and everyone stays under the sheets and
yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, hold on. Did people take their bras off during sex? What? Okay, this must be why I'm single.
yeah, but it's in
Didn't say that. No one said it. Why didn't they say?
in France, you know, French people be doing a madness. So yeah, in some of the French
Okay.
sex scenes, people take off the bras and sex, and then afterwards, then they'd light up cigarettes.
Crazy. You'd be
Yeah,
naked.
then they'd have cigarettes.
That's weird.
Some people just go too far with the thing. Do you know what I mean?
Literally, calm down, honey.
Yeah.
I want to go back to those times where we just had a sheet with a hole in it. That was safer. That was
safer.
near. Okay.
Exactly. All you had to worry about was maybe cigarette burns if the other person didn't know what they was doing with their post-coital cigarette.
They finished it. They were like, "Oh, is that the bin?
Yeah.
Is that the recycling?" Your sex is on fire.
I'm wondering if you understand sex or cigarettes. Which one are you confused by?
I understand nothing though.
Is that what? Maybe that's what that song meant.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like it was back in the day. And someone has finished. It was post-coitus. Okay, she hadn't got up yet. There was still the sheet with the hole in because you weren't allowed to see her whole body. And he was like, shh. And then she was like, "Ow, yo, yo."
Ah, man, we know nothing about white rock bands.
Oh my God, what do you mean? That's one of my top 5 in karaoke songs. Are you crazy?
Speaking of karaoke, also the film in what's the name? In Greece, they be smoking. It was like, Sandy, it's time to grow up. Buy yourself some wet look leggings and get some cigarettes.
Literally, and you know she got sewn into those leggings. They weren't like she couldn't put. Olivia Newton-John. It was serious. See, we cared about things in the days. Okay,
they'd make the effort. Yeah, before there was no AI, there was no CGI. You had to get a little person and stuff them into a robot, and they would have to stay in there in the heat and do the filming. And maybe sometimes they would pass out. But that was art. We did it for the art. There was union. You know what I mean? You couldn't just grow up. You had to have the wig on for the whole film. You couldn't just add the hair pieces with the AI.
They stitched it into your scalp. I mean, that may not be true. I might have just made that up, but I feel like they might have. So yeah, let's just say that. Let's run with it.
Yeah, they did. So this is not morning fact check. Anyway.
Exactly. Who cares? They would have. If they didn't, they wanted to. Okay.
Who cares? I mean, while there is maybe some positive health implications for the banning of outdoor smoking, I think if people are outside, let them do what they want. Like, so what? Because for me, how we've gotten to banning outdoor smoking, but we still can't find a way to find out if someone makes their dog do a doo-doo anywhere, that we can't track that person and find them accordingly. If you want to start bringing money into the economy, you let people register their dogs, and then if their dog does, and register the DNA of the dog, so if the dog does a shit, you measure the DNA of the dog, and that person gets a fine.
And
why has that not been implemented?
Post it back to them.
Why has that not been implemented? I'll send it to them and I'll put a cigarette in the envelope.
Yes, see. We're solving so many problems here.
Listen, man, we started off this Blues Live by talking about people experiencing depression, and sometimes people need a cigarette, blood. The last thing they need.
Exactly. Can you imagine? And especially if they've stepped in dog shit. Like, come on.
So cigarettes stink, yeah, but if you stepped in dog shit, it's a great way of making people, when they're like, You've been smoking. Yeah, that's what it is. So I haven't been stepping in dog shit like an idiot.
Yeah.
That's what's happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it can be
Yeah.
quite useful for that as well. Also, going back to the sex part, if you're having an affair,
Oh wow.
then you have a cigarette in it because then they can be like,
You don't smell like sex, you smell like
you don't
cigarette.
smell like sex or perfume, you smell like cigarettes. And you're like, yeah, because I was just smoking outside all night. That's where.
That's what it is. I'm so sorry. I really got something to tell you. I'm a smoker. And they're like, oh my God, thank God. I thought you were having an affair. I was like, well, that too, but I'm a smoker.
Yeah, but the main thing is I'm a smoker because
Yeah,
that could kill me. That could kill me. Let's focus on what happened because
always
smoking could
changing
kill
the
me.
subject. Like,
That's why I cheat on you. I mean, that's why I smoke.
because I feel sorry. I feel bad about it. Okay. What if I didn't smoke? What if I was just cheating with wanton abandonment?
Right.
Okay.
I could be cheating with 10 women, but I'm on 10 a day.
Exactly. Thank you. You're welcome.
You're welcome. Let's have a cigarette.
It's going to light up now. Okay, have you got something else for us today before I go into my final glory story?
Yes. There's been trouble in paradise. That is a weird segue, but essentially, the Austrian police have been managed to make 3 arrests after they uncovered a plot, which they believe was orchestrated by Islamic State to for a terrorist attack at during Taylor Swift's world tour of the Eras tour. I'm not how aware you were of the fact that Taylor Swift is on one of the biggest tours of all time with her Eras tour. I'm not sure if
I
you are a
definitely don't think I'm
Swiftie.
her demographic. So
Yes,
did she
me.
stop the tour and start again?
So she has had to cancel a few dates, particularly along continental Europe, as a result of these intended attacks coming to light.
Is that what was going on?
Because she
Okay.
felt very afraid. But it appears that 3 Austrian teenagers have been arrested who themselves have has been radicalized allegedly by Islamic State and had the intention of causing grievous harm and causing many deaths by attempting a terrorist attack at a Taylor Swift concert, which is supposed to be quite reminiscent of the attacks that took place in Manchester
Or
at the Ariana Grande.
You know what? And I don't want to minimize what happened at Ariana Grande, but what I will say is that these Austrian teenagers, you're saying they're radicalized by Islamic State, but I've seen clips of Taylor Swift performing, and I'm not saying violence is ever the answer, but if you've seen Taylor Swift performing on stage and that thing that she does that I guess is supposed to be dancing, I could be a little bit radical after that as well. And I'm not saying I would go as far as to bomb her, but if I could maybe just call in a threat and get the whole show shut down.
I'm saying that terrorism takes many forms. Now there is the horrible, virulent, hostile terrorism that may have been prevented by Australian authorities,
and good,
but there is a element of community urban terrorism that takes place when you do sometimes chance upon white women doing TikToks in the street, or white women falsifying their qualifications to dance at the Olympics, or white women offering choreography to Taylor Swift, who many times when I researched this particular article, I said that she has now surpassed Michael Jackson's record for attendees and concert scale at Wembley Stadium, where she had over 20,000 attendees. But that can't be because of the dancing.
I need us to stop that, right? And the reason I need us to stop doing that with anything of like modern day times is because you just can't compare, because we're so interconnected now. It's so much easier to get those, like in Michael Jackson's time, they went to a village, a remote village where nobody had, I think it was like in the Amazon or something like that, where nobody had even gone there apart from like an anthropologist. I don't even think that. And they knew who Michael Jackson was. Do you know how that like level of fame you have to have before the internet? Before most people didn't even have TVs, okay, and not even telephones to have that level of fame. Now, well, yeah, she's got people look on their phones and they can see.
Also, and I'm not saying this is a part of the Taylor Swift brand, but you have entire click farms and farms dedicated to creating a hysteria around a particular person, which is not the same as what Michael Jackson had. Also, I feel like when we talk about Michael Jackson's legacy, we're comparing it to a particular period. So Michael Jackson as a solo artist is that they're trying to compare, acting as if 20 and 30 years prior, Michael Jackson also did not have a massive run as a member of the Jackson 5 and then the Jacksons. So it's not comparable.
It's a really ridiculous comparison to make generationally. I think you can't make those generational comparisons. And I think with Michael Jackson specifically is how pivotal he was just in the industry generally and for Black people. Like he was the one that got MTV to change and like put Black videos on there and all of the, like Taylor Swift it's just a celebration of white mediocrity, and that's fine. Like, I really don't care. Like, if that makes the girlies happy, good for them. They need something and they feel like that's their Beyonce. Well, that would make sense. We see your output, so yes. So I don't really have an issue like that. Like, cool, she can exist and do her little whatever she wants to do. I don't have an issue. My problem is when you're actually comparing someone that's just a bit of an entertainer to artists. That's the issue for me. Is like that
Yeah.
people that are like about the art, that you look at. If I look at Taylor Swift, like the clips and stuff like that, and for example, if I'm going to make a side by side comparison with Beyonce, now whether people like Beyonce or not, but she is an artist. She works on everything that goes into her production and whatever, like all of these things. But Taylor Swift is very much an entertainer. Yeah, I heard she's got a good pen game, but her voice is mid. She can't dance, and her concerts are only inspiring for like, teeny boppers. So, I mean, and that's fine. Again, it's fine. I genuinely don't care. Like, let them have their mediocrity. I really, really don't care.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic as well.
Can we also be realistic about the fact that these guys are supposed to be even radicalized by Islamic State? Islamic State are a strange one for me because they are supposed to be such a violent and very dangerous terrorist entity. But it seems that throughout the height of their prime of terrorist acts, they only seem to attack people in the Middle East and other Muslims. Also, they also really desecrated Islamic architecture and religiously significant historical sites. They also do a lot of their banking in Dubai. And also, weirdly, for some reason, despite the fact that they pose such an existential threat to Western values, for some reason, the US Army left a whole bunch of Toyota Hiluxes and other armored personnel carriers for them to just take, which just seems so strange. Like, for a group that prides themselves on being so massively fundamentally Islamist, Wahhabist or Salafist, they seem to be going after the same enemies as another regime that are currently involved in ethnic cleansing in that same region. It's so strange that they keep going for the same people, and it's just weirdly convenient that now they decided to, of all places, attack the whitest institution, which would be Taylor Swift and her largely white tweeny fan base. But it was foiled just in time. But you would think that, like, if you were somebody who wanted to make a political point with the act of terrorism, a Taylor Swift concert wouldn't be where you would go. Maybe there'd
Definitely
been
is not the
a
first choice.
shitload of demonstrations of people that would be pro-Western or pro-Zionist that would probably make more sense. So why you would attack a Taylor Swift concert, I don't know. But then I don't know why people would listen to Taylor Swift in these large numbers. But then,
I mean,
we have
she's
to
got
accept
some
that some
bangers.
people
Play,
listen to
play,
music
play, play,
and some
play.
people hear music. And that's the difference. When I think about Taylor Swift and the state of of the music industry, it's very reminiscent of people who are like K-pop fans. Who again is such people that tell me that they hear music, they don't listen to music, because the original K-pop star was Psy with Gangnam Style,
Oh god.
and everybody danced along and was like, I like this guy. I wonder what his personality is like. And then they heard him speak, and he was like, the US is an imperialist force that oppresses the rest of the world. And they were like, let's find more K-pop without a message.
Let's find K-pops that don't speak.
Let's have K-pops that don't speak, and
let's go younger.
yeah, younger people with no armpit hair and no political disposition whatsoever. That's where we need to go. I don't think that terrorist attacks are the way to deal with the Taylor Swift level of mediocrity. But she was very afraid. I am much more afraid of the fact that if your parents are able to provide you with a career, people will still act as if the industry is a meritocracy. But luckily, Taylor Swift is okay. Luckily, Taylor Swift's fan base is okay, at least physically. Taylor Swift actually sounds like an artificial intelligence, while we're on the subject. Just as a name. The name Taylor Swift sounds like a AI.
She dances like AI as well.
She does, but she's getting her money, and we'd ever not come on this live to get women, successful business women, which I hope brings us to our next and final story.
Very successful. So I wanted to end. I feel like we needed to end on an upbeat story, and you may hear the story and think, well, what do you mean, Z? That's not as upbeat as I would have thought. Well, I need you to see the positives here. So I came across this story on Beyonce's internet because fuck Taylor Swift. No, I'm joking. Shout out to Taylor Swift. I came across this story and the title is "Former Businesswoman Who Became a Full-Time Shoplifter and Stole £500,000." And I just think it's a wonderful story. So we've got Narinda Kaur, or Nina, as she's also known, because she has aliases. Because you know what? If you're going to shoplift, you can't just have one name, sweetheart. You got to have more. And it starts and it says, she seemed to have a normal professional life. Every morning, she'd leave her home near Wiltshire and hop into a car and head off to work. However, this 54-year-old did for work set her apart from respectable society. Basically, she would go robbing. Okay, so she would go in and she would rob. She would do it from John Lewis's. She had Monsoon stuff. Boots, by the way, she got over the between 2015 and 2019, £61,000. And you're thinking, oh, okay, she just bought this stuff and she sold it. No, bitch. she was the Omar of Robin. You know Omar?
Yeah, of course I know Omar.
She used to rob their stuff and bring it back to them and say she wanted a refund, and she would get money in cash. Gangster, how you mean? She would get her money back in cash. So one of the things that really made me laugh, really made me chuckle. So she would do it a few ways. What she would do is she would sometimes like get one from one store, steal it, go to another store and be like, I need a refund. And then sometimes they were like, we need a receipt. But like, you know what it is. If you can speech it, like they're gonna be like, oh, okay, cool.
Just if you're not black.
Yeah. I mean, and also she was like, I've got a gift. It was a gift. I don't have a receipt, blah, blah, blah. And they would give her the money back. So that was one thing. And then another thing she would do is she would just bring it from the store to the counter. So she wouldn't even leave and go to a new store.
Like a buffet.
I need a refund.
Like a buffet. Just pick it off the shelf and be like, this is mine.
She was like, I came in with this. I need a refund. And then she would get.
This woman is a legend, you know. Not all heroes wear capes.
And then in with Boots as well. What the line that made me laugh is that they were like, so they were going through all of the numbers of like how much she's stolen from these various places. So hold on, let me just find it. So that was it. So she was like, she apparently she was getting as much as 2,000 a week. Look at that, businesswoman creating her own line of work.
I love it.
Her bank and card receipts showed that she received 42,000 from Debenhams in returns, 33,000 from John Lewis, 23,000 from Monsoon, and 23,000 from House of Fraser. She also had HomeSense, TK Maxx, and Homebase. Okay,
so she's spreading it out though. She's not too bougie. Not too bougie.
No, she's not exactly. She's not
she's a real professional.
She's not doing Chanel. These are practical things. Like John Lewis, she probably needed stuff from John Lewis.
Not aiming too high, keeping it classy. Yeah, she's like, not getting sloppy.
It's just kind of mid-range. Like it's not even that high. So then she said, but her most lucrative target was Boots. Because between July 2015 and September 2019, she claimed more than almost 61,000 in refunds from the pharmacy chain, despite only spending 5,000. I was like, what? She gave the money to?
Yeah, but that's you take some money to make money. So she's investing in the business model.
She took the money to make more money.
This is it.
What's hilarious is like they said despite only spending $5,000. You mean she gave $5,000 of their money back to them? She brought the refund and went, you know what? Let me buy. I'll get those.
That's the cost of doing business. Yeah, when you're running the scam.
She was like, you know what? While I'm here, give me a chapstick. Here's the
that's a little bit of the cost for the finesse. We're dealing with a professional here.
I love her so much.
I love her so much. I love all shoplifters though.
Okay. So her ill-gotten gains paid for a £600,000 house. Well, it didn't, because she didn't take £600,000. So guys, you're a Mercedes and a holiday. I mean, maybe the holiday and part paid. Part paid would have been more.
The deposit for the Mercedes at least.
Yeah, the deposit, but they're making it seem like, you put in, you know what you're doing. Telegraph. God, call yourself a newspaper. So yeah, anyway, so it goes through, and unfortunately she got caught. As all great scammers do, she got caught and she's now in prison. I think they put her in prison for 10 years. She's got a proper bid, 10 whole years. And I just think, to be honest, right? So 2015 to 2019, that's like 4 years. And it was 250,000. So that's like what, 60 something a year. That's just a kind of very middle class salary. She wasn't even
We
being
pay Liz
attractive.
Truss gets paid more than that for destroying an entire
This is
economy.
what I'm saying.
Michelle Moan got more than that. Michelle Moan got more than that.
Look at her face.
There you go. Wouldn't hurt a fly. Wouldn't hurt a fly.
I'd give her a refund. Look at her. I mean, to be
Free
fair,
her up. I say free her up. I love all shoplifters, and I love that shoplifting takes place, and I love for it to continue to damage corporations. You know why? Because there you go. Is that in the cell?
That's her in the.
Yeah, because she probably got things to give to people in the commissary.
That's her in the change room, sorting out which one she's gonna bring back.
Yeah, man. I love this woman. Free her up. Free her up. Free her up.
Narinda.
Because at the end of the day, at the end of the day, even though we have these statistics, even though we have one of the most prolific shoplifters in the UK, even though we know that the quintessential shoplifter is actually a middle-aged white woman that normally engages in shoplifting, even though every single white person I've met pretty much has told me that during their teenage years, they've been privy to or involved in shoplifting. Who do they follow around? You and me.
Negro.
So I'm happy to continue to be a law-abiding distraction while brown and white people rob these places blind. And until you want to change your racist policies,
a lot of those places are avoiding paying tax. So,
exactly. Someone's got to do the thing for justice.
Balancing that out. And it's so funny because they're like, oh, like shoplifting has risen so incredibly because people got no fucking money, babe. That's why.
Yeah, because you keep profiteering and gouging the prices. So of course people ain't got no freaking money. So yeah, man, teeth up the thing then, because people now they're putting
free Narinda. That's
free Narinda immediately. Free Narinda until it's the other way around.
Exactly. Till Narinda free. Tell them.
I want her free back on the roadside, and I want the rights to her biopic. Let's make it happen because we need to celebrate her. Free Narinda, free Hush Puppy as well. While we're at it, free Frank Abagnale. I think he's free anyway. But free up the scammers. Free up the shoplifters. Because at the end of the day, these people, you know,
still. Hush Puppy? No, isn't he a scammer?
Yeah, free him up, man.
Who is he scamming? No, we only free the ones when they're scamming corporations.
He was scamming like football teams and other corporations and stuff.
Fair play.
Or just
scamming like regular people.
I mean, if you don't free him up for that, reduce the sentence. Reduce the sentence. Appeal. Yeah, appeal. There you go. That's a nice compromise. A little piece of appeal. But no, I'm sorry, man. I personally have no sympathy for any corporations that experience a loss of earnings as a result of shoplifting, because like you said, they are avoidant of their tax, and they also tend to criminalize and profile black people, even though it is a statistical fact that middle-aged white women form the largest demographic of shoplifters in the country, and white children and teenagers, they shoplift. Shoplifting is the same thing as doing drugs at festivals, that white people do it the most and no one seems to care. So fuck it, I don't give a fuck. Keep teeth in the things then. I will trip up a security guard if he tries to follow somebody. I will turn a blind eye. I will refuse to give a statement. I didn't see nothing, I'm afraid. Yeah. I'll dance like Taylor Swift in front of them. So they'll be further offended. Yeah.
So there we go. So I think, Dane, that's all we've got time for today.
Yes, thank you very much. For those of you who have joined us on the live, thank you very much. This brings us to the end of season 1 of the breakfast banter with myself and Z, as the school is going to start up again, and people have to go back to their work and stuff until we get the 3-day week. But we will return to keep you entertained on your commute to work, and to make sure that you lot don't make the mistake of working too blood clot hard, because it's not worth it. Because no one from work is coming to your funeral, and there's no statues for salespeople in any fucking office.
Not even Dawn in accounts. She's just lying.
There you go. So this is it. I hope it's been entertaining for you guys. We'll still be doing lives. You can also catch us on. You can find Z on.
You can find me on Instagram. I'm on Instagram as The Reluctant Accountant. I'm also on the TikToky. I don't know why I said it like that, but it's The Reluctant Accountant. And also on Monday, the first episode of my podcast, The Misinformation Podcast. That's Miss with 2 S's. Misinformation Podcast is coming out. It's on Spotify and Apple and on YouTube under The Reluctant Accountant. But if you go to Spotify or Apple now, there is a trailer so you can follow in advance and anticipate that Monday drop.
Absolutely. And you guys can still catch me on all things Dane Baptiste. I'm also have my podcast Citizen Dane, which is available on Spotify now. We are now 4 episodes deep, so you guys can catch that as well. And we'll probably I'll continue the live sometimes. And if Z's got time to drop in, she will. But we will be doing season 2 very soon, so watch out for that. Please follow us and continue to share these lives. Yeah, enjoy your lives as well. And if you are feeling down and depressed and struggling with living in this fucking dunya, please do seek help or lean on some friends. It is okay to not be okay. Or yeah, just teeth something, man. If it gives you a little rush and you need it, don't hurt yourself because you can't afford something. Fucking teeth that, blood. Teeth it. That's our message. Just teeth it. Because it's not worth your life being teethed away from your family and friends. Teeth it. Teeth it.
Trust me. Anyway. Thank you, Dane.
Thank you very much. And thank you guys for listening. Have